Okay, and they're off. We'll get them synced up in a second for you so you can see them sync or desync as they go throughout the game. First things first, if you haven't seen a Donkey Kong Country speedrun, you roll a lot because rolling's faster than running, and you immediately want to get rid of Donkey because he is slower than Diddy, as you saw on Fathlo's screen. He just sort of got rid of Donkey right away. Parisian opts to keep Donkey with him, it looks like, a little bit safer. Otherwise, you'd be playing the first few stages as solo Diddy. If you run into a Kremling or do anything silly like that, you end up taking a death. Here, he would just take damage, so playing it safe here in the race is not too bad of a decision. Fathlo having a little bit of a bump right there. No big deal. He's actually now behind Parisian by about 3, 4, 5 seconds. Not too much. But here's the first bonus that we take in order to skip part of the stage. There are a couple instances of that. The goal is all stages, which really translates to all exits. You have to beat all the stages, not necessarily enter all of them from the same beginning, and not necessarily play the entire thing. There are some skips that you can do as opposed to our no major skips category. So this is really anything goes so long as you take the exit to every one of the stages and beat all of the bosses. When I say anything goes, I mean any glitch that you can come up with that helps you get to the end of any level faster. We'll see a couple of those really cool glitches coming up soon-ish, in about 7 or 8 minutes or so. We'll see a couple good ones. This is the first really good platforming stage here. Reptile Rumble introduces you to crawl spaces, and there's some good rolls and extendos and whatnot. Now we're going to go into Coral Capers, first water stage. There's actually no such thing as water in this game. It's just a flag set that says your Kong is in a swimming state. So there are some interesting things you can do in ROM hacks and whatnot, because basically you're actually flying right now. You just press B to fly higher and swim upwards, because there is no in or out of water in this game as opposed to in the other two Donkey Kong Country games. For the most part, you want to be on your fish buddy on guard. He's much faster than the Kongs, particularly in the horizontal direction. You see there's this lunge attack that he does. You are also invulnerable while you are lunging, so it lets you clip through some enemies and dispatch of other ones. We use that a lot to our advantage in speedruns. Also, you may notice that the Kongs dance for a little bit after every level that they finish. What we do is mash all of the face buttons to actually end that dance a little bit early. Call it fanfare skip. It saves, I think, about a minute or so over the course of the entire speedrun. And so now going across the top of Barrel Cannon Canyon, as the name suggests, you fly through these barrel cannons all the way across the top of the stage, come down a little bit, and do a nice little extendo here through these guys in order to get back up to the next set of barrel cannons. And an extendo, if you do not know what that is, basically you press Y to roll it in the game, and if you roll through an enemy, it refreshes your roll. If you let go of the Y button when you roll through that enemy and then repress it, you will keep your increase in roll speed, because every enemy that you roll through makes you roll faster. You will keep your increase in roll speed, but it starts your roll over again, so you get a brand new distance, however long it is, depending upon your speed, that you can roll without coming to a stop. And Fathlo through the first world, no problem. First boss isn't really much to talk about. You just kind of bop him on the head a few times. Now onto Winky's walkway. Pass by Winky right there, but then up Fathlo's screen. Say hi. He's everyone's favorite animal companion. Obviously, he's the best one. He's a frog, but he doesn't see too much use in most speedruns, unfortunately.
How's it going, Lumo?
I was hoping you were here. I wasn't sure if you were here yet.
Sorry for the delay. Hope everyone's doing well. Excited for this race. So one interesting thing to note that in the other two Donkey Kong Country games, Worlds 1 and 2 have a developer warp in every single level. However, in this game, the developer warps are actually spread out across the different worlds. So Fathlo just used one of them in Minecart Carnage, kind of well hidden at the very beginning of the level to get to the right near the end. That level's actually kind of hard if you play it on the carts by itself when you say Lumo. So it's kind of nice that they give us that one.
It was definitely like one of the toughest stages that you had to play like as a kid, and I've definitely had a lot of friends agree with me there. So a nice little trick there on Fathlo's screen called B skip, where you skip the Bs. You can jump through crawl spaces if you hold the down button, and if you are halfway through, you actually can press the roll button and it zips you out to the other side. So you just skip a couple B cycles right there, saves about 4 seconds.
He also opted to go for spooky jump right there, jumping on over halfway past the first tire at this particular section, jumping over the second tire and landing safely just barely on the other side. Spooky jump is called that because if you jump too far left on that first tire, you don't make the gap and you die. And we don't get the halfway in this level because it is quite far out of the way, and we're not going to bring the tire to get it. So just shows the level of ballsiness on Fathlo. But you expect that much from the world record holder?
Yeah, at this point, he's very comfortable with that trick. So to put things in perspective, this game is very high risk, high reward. I'm sorry, high risk, low reward, and that's basically the moral of the story. So that trick in particular saves about 1/4 of a second or so at the expense of losing probably 40. So don't want to mess that one up. What Fathlo just did there is called a super jump. We'll get to see a replay of it on Parisian's screen here. First major glitch of the game. What you got to do is take damage with one of your Kongs such that they run into a wall, or in this case, a slope. And then that sends them up off the top of the screen. You see Donkey jumped up there. That means the super jump is charged. So when he gets Donkey back, as long as he bounces on a crusher right here, he can hold B and then go upwards infinitely. In that case, into a Donkey-only developer-intended warp barrel, takes him to the end of the stage, and then he is out.
And we'll see that again coming up in Force Frenzy, which is the 3rd level of the 3rd world. So if you look on Fathlo's screen a little bit, you will be able to see that exact same tech again. We'll see if he actually goes for the enhanced tech with the super jump roll. We'll talk more about that a little bit later because there's other ones for sure he'll go for.
Another developer-intended warp barrel, accessible only by Donkey in that level of Ultra Culture. It's actually on a timer as well, so you actually not only have to get there with Donkey, but get there in a certain amount of time. Another warp right here in Treetop Town for Fathlo. Of course, you want to switch back to Diddy as soon as you're done with those Donkey warps, just because Diddy's so much faster.
Now, it is important to note for the Donkey-only warp in 3-1 that you don't have to get there as Donkey. Ooh, see, I guess Parisian didn't know that. Parisian could have gone all the way to the Donkey warp with Diddy in front and then swapped Donkey, and it would have appeared out of nowhere.
I think he was worried about getting there in time.
Yeah, as long as you're in there in time, it'll be there. And Fathlo did go for the SJR, aka the super jump roll. So Lumo did talk about what a super jump is, taking damage to store a super jump state on your backup Kong. And so you're going to see Fathlo go for it again. He's going to take damage to set up that state right there. So Diddy has the super jump state. Now the next part he's going to do is when he gets Diddy back in front, he's also going to run off that slope. And then at the frame where he's off the slope, but still, or right as he's going off the slope, he's going to try to press Y as he's going off of an enemy. So the game's not going to be sure if he's supposed to jump off the enemy or roll through the enemy. Again, it is frame perfect trick, and if he gets it, he gets a super jump roll in this case, which lets him cartwheel through the whole stage, which is super fast. Saves about 20 seconds over just super jumping over the stage. And which is what Parisian is doing right now on his side of the screen.
Yeah, so you saw how fast Fathlo went, and now you see what Parisian's doing. You can see why that saves about 20 seconds. But it is, as Stu said, a frame-perfect trick. The game runs at 60 FPS, so you have 1/60th of a second to hit that Y button as you land on that Kremling. Very tight.
Now, it is interesting to note, though, that Fathlo did die the first time and then got it the second time. That actually is about the same amount of time as what Parisian's doing. It's something like maybe 3 seconds slower to die and then actually get the super jump roll versus just getting the super jump. So he didn't really lose that much compared to what Parisian did.
Did get redemption getting it the second time around, though, for sure.
For sure, yeah.
All right, so the next big thing that Fathlo is going to be doing is called map warp. So every stage in the game, when your Kongs are stopped on one of these faces on the overworld, you can press any of the face buttons, A, B, X, or Y, to enter that stage or area, whatever it is. And so if your Kongs are stopped, you can enter that. However, if you have 2 Kongs in there moving, you cannot. So you need to get both your Kongs into a warp barrel or have one on the map at a single time, and there are corners that you saw Fathlo just entered in one of the corners, not exactly a stage, but one of the corners there. Your Kongs will stop at the corners for particularly 1 frame, and when you do, you can press one of the face buttons, and it actually ends up warping you to the end of Orangutan Gang there. So all you had to do is finish the end of the stage. Didn't have to go into the beginning, as I said. It's just really all exits. You don't have to enter at the beginning of every stage. You just have to leave each stage through the intended exit.
And it is interesting to note that there's a particular corner that Fathlo used, and Parisian will do the same. That corner is the one that takes you to the end of O-Gang. But just as a note, that in 101% for DKC1, we use a different corner on the World 1 map to take us to the middle of O-Gang. So the different non-level nodes on the World 1 map do take you to different spots. The one we picked for this category takes us specifically to the end because it's the fastest just to exit out of O-Gang.
Do you use the same corner for any percent as well?
It's the first one.
Okay,
so,
yeah, so it's the same one then.
Yeah.
There are 4 in total, but I believe only 2 of them are actually useful. 3 of them go to O-Gang, and 1 of them actually sends you back to Ropey Rampage, I think. The end of Ropey Rampage.
Yeah, I think that's correct.
So, Queen Bee here, this is the first boss that you actually cannot just bop on the head. You actually have to hit her with barrels. She's invulnerable when she's red, and then she zings up and down a few times. Then when she turns yellow again, you can hit her with another barrel. Pretty simple. There's some neat little tech in the beginning. You can actually get a quick hit on her at the start when she's up top, and then that sort of sets the cycles up much more cleanly for the end of the fight. Probably see Parisian go for it. We can point it out when he does. Fathlo now on to World 4. Probably going to go for Joe roll right here. Nice little gap roll right there. Saves about 6 frames at the cost of dying, and gets 0 roll as well. Very nice. So in Parisian's screen, see him jump up, and he hits the B, gets that quick cycle. So then that's going to set all these following cycles up much more neatly, where you can hit the B on the bottom as opposed to on the top of the screen.
Now, on Fathlo's screen, you may have noticed he picked up a tin barrel on purpose. If you're holding one of those barrels and you jump while on a slope, you get what we call a barrel boost, and it propels you very, very quickly in the forward direction. And the neckies in this level are set up in such a perfect way that you bounce off, what is it, 2 of them or something like that, off of the barrel boost, and cross over some big gaps that normally you'd have to take some auto barrels and such to get across. So a decent time save. Not a hard trick by any stretch of the imagination, but very cool that like the enemies perfectly align for the trick.
Neat little out of bounds right here on Fathlo's screen in order to go up above this stage and then into a warp barrel, typically only accessible by Donkey. But in order to save a little bit of time and save swapping your Kongs, you can actually clip out of bounds at the top of that stage and stay as Diddy. And now at the end of the stage here, very good ropes. And he's going to be going into Ice Age Alley, which is nicknamed Bird because it is typically the first time where we actually see our bird buddy Espresso. Espresso is very, very quick. You want to run down slopes because you get a little speed boost, and jump up slopes because that actually slows you down. You want to hold Y anytime you're running on the ground. And then once you jump and flap, actually you end up running at max speed the rest of the stage. So you see he's running down slopes, jumping up slopes. He missed a little bit of slope there, not a huge deal, but it's just like one of those little things that you can go for if you're trying to really perfect your run. It saves next to nothing, but just gives you a little bit of a speed boost. It's very precarious being on animal buddies, especially in that section right there. If you end up getting hit, you sort of just get launched in whichever direction you're facing at max speed. You cannot roll, you cannot jump, you cannot change direction. And if you so end up falling into a pit, then you end up falling into a pit and there's nothing you can do about it. But luckily he made it out, no problems whatsoever. Parisian following in Fathlo's footsteps.
Just about to mention that he actually did go for the. I wasn't sure if he was going to go for the out of bounds thing. I feel like a lot of players in that intermediate level tend to find that quite difficult and not to just go for Donkey, especially in a race setting where it's like, do you want to waste a bunch of seconds on a kind of a hard trick? But he actually nailed it first try. Very, very impressive. Yeah, I believe if you miss it first try, it's actually slower than just swapping to Donkey, right? I think so. Yeah.
So as you see on Parisian's screen, just running and jumping, there are very limited times when you would let go of right in this stage, which makes it very fun to play out. He takes a little bit of safeties here and there. Looked like yep, there you go. So a lot of players don't mash hard enough in order to make it over that bonus barrel, which ends up losing you a lot of time if you fall into. So he just opted to stop beforehand and then jump over it. Safe strat for a race. No faults there.
So what you're seeing on Fathlo's screen, this is one of the longest levels, if not the longest level, in DKC 1, and there's not really that much to it, but if you pay close attention between a good player and a average player, you'll notice that the good players are able to cut the corners very efficiently and minimize the distance they actually have to travel in this level. And you can kind of tell how well they do. At the very end of the stage, there's going to be a piano section for the background music. The fewer notes of the piano section that you hear, the better you did. And if you don't hear anything, aka get pianoless, then you're considered a god amongst the DKC community, because it is very, very difficult. And very few people have actually achieved pianoless, but yeah, it is possible.
It's pretty much the best that humans do.
Yeah. And it comes down to two factors: the cutting the corners and the how fast you mash. I believe Joe said that there is no real cap on how fast you can swim up, as long as you get one frame on by pressing B and one frame off of releasing B, and you keep doing that. So 30 on, 30 off during the 60 frames a second. That's your theoretical max. So as long as you can mash really, really fast, you can save some time in that level.
Yeah, not quite viable for humans just yet. So Fathlo in Torchlight Trouble, this is the first of 3 stages where the gimmick is that the lights are out. Most players opt not to go for Squawks, the animal buddy that carries a lantern with you to help you see. He creates a lot of lag, and it actually takes time to break him out of the box. So most players just sort of go through the dark, because you can mostly see what you're doing anyway. Fathlo now setting up for the second super jump roll, the run that most runners typically go for. Very precarious setup. It looks like he jumped at the wrong time, didn't get the second army to follow him and hit Donkey. So he's going to just finish out the stage regularly. I don't believe Parisian goes for it, so I think we're just going to see both these players play through this stage the vanilla way. Lots of good tire rolls, lots of good movement, good extender right there, and a couple cycle skips right here from Fathlo.
Important to note for that cycle.
Oh, he missed that one.
Yeah, he messed up the back half. The important thing about the start of that trick that he did nail, though, is that he did a little left-right wiggle. He stopped while facing left to make sure the camera panned back to the left. It was intentional to not let the tire platform spawn. That way, when he did get to that section, the tire platform was further right, which let him actually cross that gap with the tire roll. If he didn't do the little delay thing to do the camera manipulation, he would have rolled across the tire farther left and not had enough distance to make the gap and died. So tough trick, actually. That's actually quite a difficult level, notorious for causing players to die, no matter what their skill level is, to be honest.
So Fathlo throwing off some cool tech there. You can hang out in the upper left-hand corner of that boss fight. Lets you hit the boss more optimally as soon as it's vulnerable, coming down for the apex of his jump. Now the next super jump roll setup right here, you see Diddy off the top of the screen. Super jump is charged. Going to take damage on this can. And he got the single explosion, and he opts not to go to try to save it. Probably very wise. Most times that results in death, because it is about 2 pixel window that you have on the edge of the oil drum to roll off of it and save your roll. Most players typically opt to not go for it, because if you go too far back to the left, you end up getting killed by the drum and the fire. So he hit the frame, however his setup was not good, so he only got 1 explosion instead of getting 2 explosions, meaning that the critter was a little bit too low for him to actually get the proper jump roll off of, the proper super jump roll off of, I should say. Nice extendo right there to finish out the stage, rolling on some oil drums and some tires. Very tricky section, and he makes it through no problem.
Yeah, he makes it look easy, but that's another one. Both RBR, Rope Bridge Runnable from the previous world, and ODA, Oil Drum Alley in World 5, They're both very notorious for being death stages. So like you kind of, as a runner, you're praying that you get the frame to SJR on out of there, because if you don't, the middle to back half of those levels can easily kill you and end your run.
There's also a super jump roll in this stage that Fathlo's in now called Elevator Antics. It's not really mainstream just yet, but it is becoming more and more viable as more and more people come up with better setups for it. Looks like Parisian's going to take a super jump, just a regular super jump, over ODA. That's I don't know how much of a time loss, but it's got to be.
I don't even want to guess how long that is.
Yeah.
It's got to be expensive to just super jump over here.
Yeah, because he's moving at run speed right now. So anytime that you press the Y button to roll, you are saving time overdoing this strat, plus the time that it took to set it up, and plus you go even faster anytime you roll through an enemy. So he is losing a significant amount of time here over playing out the stage. However, it is much, much safer, because as we were just talking about, this end of the stage that he's going over, or about to go over, is very difficult to play out. Now Fathlo into the final water level of the game. Again, on your buddy on guard. Here there are mincers, these spiky wheels of death that just go flying around this pond. And you can't get rid of them. You can't knock them away with on guard like you can a lot of other enemies with your lunge attack. Instead, since they're invulnerable to you and you have invincibility while you're lunging, you end up just clipping through them. And we use that a lot in speedruns. There's a very notorious one coming up here called Triple Mincer Clip, where you guessed it, you clip through 3 mincers. 1, 2, 3. Very nice. Now he's pretty much free and clear out of this stage because you just go all the way to the left here.
Oh, wow.
Good shot out of an auto barrel.
Doing the what's it called? The like scary roll near the beginning of Elevator Antics.
Oh, off the drum?
Yep, off the drum. That I believe that means he started his roll too far right on the drum.
Yes, you sort of like plummet if you start too far to the right.
So that's very unfortunate. It's not like technically not the biggest possible death, but it definitely is a bad feel. Also, I wanted to answer Ninja's question I saw in stream. He's asking, is there ever a reason to do a bonus area? And I know Lumo did talk about this at the beginning, but there are 2 bonuses, I believe, in this run that actually do propel you far enough into the stage that it is a time save over playing the level out completely by itself.
Parisian actually just took one.
Yes, that's what I was mentioning, is because Elevator Antics is one of the 2. The other one was World 1 Level 2, Ropey Rampage?
Ropey Rampage, yep. So what's going on Fathlo's screen right there, where he was just rolling and jumping through the air? That's an interesting trick that we call rolling through air. What you do is you get Donkey in front and you run into the minecart. You cannot roll into it, you cannot jump into it, and then you take damage on the first bird that you come to. From there, the game thinks that you never actually left the catwalks, so you can roll, and anytime you can roll, you can jump out of your roll. So you continuously roll and jump through the air. It actually sets you up very nicely for getting jump rolls off of birds. It looks like Fathlo was a little bit early on his attempt, so he actually rolled through the bird and killed it instead of getting the jump roll off of it, which is much better than the alternative where if he were to be too late, he would bounce off of the bird and then lose his rolling through air state. So now Fathlo into Blackout Basement, second level, where the gimmick is that the lights are out. Here they are actually like all the way out. It's not their set, it's dark, it is pitch black. All except for a few visual cues that still are visible while the lights are out, like single bananas, the midway barrel, DK barrels, and Diddy himself, also Donkey. Everything else goes away when the lights turn out, so you pretty much just have to rely on what you see half the time when the lights are on, because they do flicker every 62 frames, just a little bit over 1 second. They're on and off for 62 frames, so you sort of get to see half of what you're doing, and then also with the little visual cues like the bananas, you basically just rely on muscle memory and roll and jump at when you feel that you need to and whatever. It's a lot of muscle memory and a lot of practice, but eventually it just becomes second nature.
And so it's important that...
Parisian doing the rolling through air right now, you see He just rolls and jumps and rolls and jumps. It looks like he didn't go for the jump roll there, so he's just going to continue all the way until he comes across another catwalk, which the game then realizes that you went over land again and you lose the glitch state, so you have to ride the carts the rest of the way.
And for Blackout Basement, you definitely, it's a level you want to make sure you're well practiced on. You want to memorize, you know, all your normal rolls for when everything goes smoothly, but it's also important to have practice when you are on the off-like cycle, because if you do make a mistake, everything becomes essentially reversed, right? And so that can actually be just as deadly when the lights are on when you're not expecting them, and like nothing looks familiar, kind of confuses your brain. So
it's very difficult to get back on your light cycle after you get off it by messing up something like picking up a DK barrel or taking a wrong jump or losing a roll or something. It's very difficult to fix.
And Fathlo's coming up on the biggest frame in the run. In practice, he was going for both Creme Tut and Bird Tut. This level is called Tanked Up Trouble, aka Tut, as the acronym. There are 2 jump rolls. One saves like 53 seconds, one saves 42 seconds. The first one's coming up right here on this Kremlin, aka Creme Tut. And he was early, did not actually get the jump roll, which is fine. That is a really tough frame to both hit, and then you have to get a wiggle afterwards, and then wiggle through some bees later. So it's all really tough. Then he lands Bird Tut, and this is a huge jump roll. Again, this is one that saves 42 seconds. That's really going to make it hard for Parisian to come back. I mean, World 6 is the frame world. There are, 5 levels, and 3 of them have viable frames for all stages.
Every level has a frame perfect trick in it. However, not all of them are mainstream just because some of them are too risky versus the reward that you get, saving only a handful of seconds in some cases.
And now you can see the reason this saves so much time is look at the tracker that Fathlo is bypassing. There were times where the tracker goes straight up and down, and the tracker moves slower than him in general. So all of the up and down movement is a waste, and the fact that he's moving completely horizontal faster than the tracker, it's like all huge time save. So
very cleanly through the end of the stage there.
Yeah, and now we're on to Manic Mincers. Going to take this Rhino. We're actually going to keep this guy most of the way through. There's a very particular spot where we want to damage boost, and Lumo did talk about it earlier in Ice Age Alley,
yes,
where if you take damage on an animal buddy, you get propelled forward. You cannot jump or do anything out of it. And in Ice Age Alley, that kind of stuff can kill you. But in this one, you see Fathlo just took the damage and it propelled him straight to the next platform. So he skipped a whole moving platform cycle, which is a really nice time save.
All right, so now Fathlo is going to be going into Misty Mines, the next super jump roll setup. This one, there are a few different setups that people go for, but typically the one that most people do. Looks like you missed the snake.
He did miss the snake. That's why I don't like the one where you go. I don't even know if he was going for the second one or the first one, but I don't like the second snake as the damage taker because I feel like I can miss it. Yeah.
Well, it looks like he was early on his roll, so he ended up rolling through the snake instead of bouncing off of it. Again, frame perfect trick, not really, reliable for humans to do consistently. So, everyone has their on days and off days with frames. No one can hit it 100% of the time, every time. So we get to see some good platforming through the end of this stage. There are some ropes here, which are kind of slow and lame. And it looks like he's grabbing Donkey. I wonder if we're going to see a loopy SJR attempt here.
I mean, we might, but I assume that he's taking that for safety, just because...
If he knew how far ahead he was, though, I don't think he'd be going for safety here. Parisian went for Bird Tut and was late, so he bounced off the bird instead of rolling through. A little bit of like the sort of last nail in the coffin there. That was a huge save that he really needed here, because Fathlo only has 2 stages left.
Yeah, he really needed Bird Tut and he needed Misty.
Yeah.
To really have any sort of a chance, and he would have needed a death probably from Fathlo.
Yeah.
You know what else he could have been getting the extra Kong to do backup Perils jump rolls. That's definitely a possibility.
True.
Because there are like 3 or 4 opportunities, depending on how many strats you know in Perils, to go for jump rolls. But it does require multiple Kongs.
I thought it was very interesting when he picked it up, though. I guess maybe that's faster. Yeah, he's going for it. All right, Loopy Lights SJR right here, boys. Setup's good. And he was
Oh, a little
on
early.
the wall there.
That would have been magical to see that in a live race.
So that saves a grand total of 3 seconds. This super jump roll in the dark that he was setting up for. You're already like halfway through the stage. That's why it only saves a handful of seconds. But it is very difficult, very inconsistent to set up. You actually do it off of a tire, which is supposed to make the frame window a little bit wider somehow. That's still hotly debated amongst runners. But basically, the way the tire compresses, it sort of seems to extend your hitbox, and where your hitbox can potentially overlap with the enemy that you're trying to super jump roll off of, so you get more possible frames to actually connect with the Kremling or whatever type of enemy when you hit Y. So setting up for the last frame trick here, and he was early. There are backups though, but he only has Diddy right now, so I don't think, he can't go for them. So he's just gonna show us some swaggy back boosts
right there.
Picking up Donkey, and then
yeah, that throw kind of ruined his momentum, and
big question mark.
Yeah, he tried to go back to the left to regain momentum to make the gap.
I think he grabbed it on accident.
Oh, you think? Okay, well, yeah, but either way, it definitely killed his momentum. And
definitely.
Now, meanwhile, Parisian actually going for the super jump over Mincers, and again, just like we talked about in ODA when he did that, that's a level where there's plenty of places where you could be rolling, which is going to be faster than super jumping. So it's quite a bit slower.
I've not timed it myself, but I've been told that it only loses a handful of seconds actually to super jump the stage, as opposed to playing it out because of Rambi and because of waiting on Mincer cycles and stuff like that. I was very surprised to hear. I haven't done any timing, but I've heard it's only a handful of seconds.
I'm surprised. I would have thought it would be more like 10-15 seconds. Ooh,
yeah,
Madman going for the double back boost off the Crusher ending. A very scary strat if you've ever tried it out yourself. Not easy at all, but he nails it, makes it look easy. Very nice, Fathlo.
Fathlo is now through the regular platforming stages of the game. He just has 2 bosses to play left. So this is all but over, just because the boss fights are kind of a snooze.
Jesus,
messing up the burn hits there. But yeah, so it looks like Fathlo has this first race all but wrapped up. Don't want to count him. Don't want to count Parisian out yet though, because people do get nervous and mess up on bosses. And the K Rule fight is about 2 minutes and 20 seconds long, so you can lose up to that much depending on when you get hit and when you die, if you die. Don't want to jinx him, but it's still a possibility. Parisian also super jumping over Misty Mines. Very safe. Again, there is a lot of time to be lost in that stage, though. I know that for a fact, because there are lots of places where you roll through multiple enemies to make yourself go much faster. I will be curious to see, though, if he... Oh, he's actually going to play out Loopy. He's not going to super jump over it. Okay, good for him.
I think Loopy is one of the funnest levels.
I definitely would tend to agree, and he goes for that hard roll tech. Good for him. He didn't get all of it, but he went for a hard roll, I guess. But yeah, Loopy is definitely one of the more interesting stages to play out, the way that the rolls fit together and different setups, I guess you could call it, where you like bounce off enemies and land in the right place and whatnot. Very satisfying to play out correctly, and some also very fun tire rolls at the end of the stage. It looks like he's probably not going to go for them, though. Yeah, no, he's just going to bounce on the tires. Alright, so Fathlo has Diddy in front. Diddy is small enough that he can actually sit in between the cannonballs in this phase. So he doesn't actually have to even hold the controller right now. Just sort of a little swag there. You can sit, have a drink. Drinking water, of course, got to stay hydrated. And type in .done, so you're ready to .done on SRL when you finish off K Rule here in a second.
Are you a Diddy main for K Rule? Or are you a Donkey boy?
I've switched to the Donkey route because it does in fact save time. Yep. But when I fail to sacrifice Diddy, because I try to go for like the optimal where you like hit Neki and get hit at the same time. Yep. If I can't do that though, I just finish it out with Diddy, no problem.
Yeah. So the part of the reason that it is faster, I don't know if we mentioned this earlier, but Donkey I believe has a shorter fanfare when he beats the bosses. So you want to optimally end Neki with Donkey winning. And then the other part is that you'll notice on Fathlo's screen the height that Diddy jumps at, he kind of goes up in the air and then like falls on top of K. Rool. It's very slight. It's not like a huge thing, but there is a little bit of extra airtime that Diddy has. Whereas if you saw someone playing as a donkey during this fight, it's almost like on his rise up, he can bounce on K. Rool's head. Like his donkey's jump height is almost exactly perfect for hitting K. Rool. So it's the two factors combined that make it more optimal to end the game as donkey, even though he's worthless in most of this run.
There's no actual advantage. It's not like donkey can hit K. Rool faster because K. Rool becomes vulnerable at the same time, no matter which Kong's in front, but it definitely seems easier to hit him more optimally with donkey. I'll agree on that for sure.
Yeah, sorry. That's kind of what I meant to get at, is that the timing on when to jump as donkey is way more intuitive and helps you become way more optimal. Although theoretically, yes, if you could figure out the right visual cues, Diddy could be just as fast in terms of the hits. It's just a lot harder.
And so I don't think it was intentional, but Parisian actually took damage. So we are going to see donkey out in front for K. Rool from him, looks like. Unless he swaps when he comes in. Some people will do that as well, just because they're more comfortable with having Diddy in front on K. Rool. But it looks like he's going to play it out as donkey. All right.
My boy.
Yeah. I don't know if he does a whole lot of slap slides, but if he does, we'll point them out. Some very, very, very crucial tech. Don't take this as a meme.
I mean, if you're not doing 100 slap slides on the daily, like, you're no friend of mine, to be honest.
We didn't mention it, but 34.44 from Fathlo. 34 is a very good time in pretty much any runner's eyes. He only hit. I guess he technically hit 2. He hit Frenzy, but that was second try. So
that
he
kind
hit
of
Frenzy,
nullifies, and he definitely hit Bird Tut, and he got the single explosion on ODA.
Right, so that was unfortunate.
The army on RBR, early on MCM.
Yep.
Early on Antics. Yeah, so he only got the one. Antics. Not Antics, I mean Misty. That's what I meant. Sorry, other snake.
The other snake that you super jump roll off of, yeah.
So.
And he did indeed die. You are correct, Charlie. So, very good run on his part.
Yeah.
As we said, though, Bird Tut is 40 low seconds, like 42, 43, depending on how you play out the stage or whatever. If you do, depending on when you jump off of the track onto the catwalk afterwards. So that is a pretty good chunk of time. It is the second most valuable frame in the game, next to Kremtut, which he also went for, but was a little bit off on.
He actually had 2 deaths in Perils, because not only did he not get the frame, then he picked up the barrel the first time.
Yeah.
Died in that gap, and then came back in, and then did it. Like, I don't know what he was thinking, but he probably was
hit it with donkey. He was like, I don't want this.
Yeah. That was interesting, and like, even though those were kind of short deaths, any death that you get in this game, it's at like pretty much at least 8 seconds at like the bare minimum, because you have to take the death cry, go back to the overworld map, re-enter the stage with the black in. Like, no death is free in this.
It takes a while. Yeah, there are very few deaths that are advantageous in this game, and they are not in this category. So Parisian finishing up here with a low 38.19 according to his timer. I think we're going to get started again here pretty soon. Exchanging GGs in the race channel. Good sportsmanship, always condoned here at Speed Gaming. Casual reminder, friendly reminder to all you racers out there to reset your console in between races, because you actually do grab animal tokens, and once you grab 3 of them, it sends you into a bonus game, which makes you lose at least 2 minutes, depending on which tokens you have acquired. I think for the most part, both these runners would have been okay, though, because I don't think any of them got multiple tokens this run. But it is a significant time loss if you end up getting 3 of the same token. It's sort of an odd thing if you just sit through all the credits and the character parade and everything, then go back to the main menu and start up the game again. No matter which file you choose, whether it was the one you were playing before or a brand new one, even if you delete the one that you were using before, it saves your number of animal tokens that you have acquired, and carries it over to the as you keep playing. So you either need to hit the reset button or a hard on-off in order to reset the number of tokens that you have.
Now, in terms of all stages, the biggest concern, assuming nothing went like crazy wrong, the biggest concern would be the espresso tokens. You are for sure going to get one in Poison Pond. After the triple minzer that we talked about, there is a fake wall that you can go through as a little shortcut, and in there is a espresso token that you're going to grab. So that one's a guarantee, but then the other one would be a risk would be in the first level, actually. There are kind of two ways to extendo past the halfway point, one of which kind of, I believe, normally takes you into the espresso token, right? And the other one doesn't.
Yeah, if you just like jump too soon, even going for the regular method that most people use, you end up jumping into the espresso token, and I've done that before for sure, where I end up with 2 tokens by the time I get to Poison Pond. So I think both of these players are aware of that. I don't know if Fathlo reset his console. I didn't watch, but I've definitely seen Parisian's emulator start over, I believe. I don't think he even sat through the full credits, so he should be fine.
I actually have faith in Fathlo getting a hot 33 this run. One of the things about this game is that it is very frame dependent, which means I feel like you typically get better the more you get warmed up, you know? So having him go through every single frame, you know, that last run, I think his fingers are going to be honed in on these frames. This next one, I think we're going to be in for a big run. Calling it now.
I don't know if he was warming up before this. I didn't get a chance to see, but I do think that he was sort of feeling it more towards the end, and I think he's got sort of the silliness out of the way, those deaths and perils and whatnot. So I think he's pretty comfortable with where he is. His nerves are probably calmed down, being ahead 1-0, and I think we can in fact look forward to a good race. Parisian player also taking a warm up there too. Yeah, I agree. Getting the SRL race channel set up for this next race here, giving the runners a bit of a time to stretch, take a break, gather their thoughts, and get ready for the next one. All right, the runners have readied up. The race is about to begin, and then there will be about a 30-second delay until we see them start up over on the restream. Get your predictions in. What's it going to be here? Is Parisian going to come back, tie it up 1-1? We're going to go into game 3, or is Fathlo going to shut him out 2-0? Let's hear it.
And they're
Parisian is off, and it looks like Fathlo's a little bit behind. I don't know.
Fathlo given the handicap. What a nice guy.
Yeah, I don't know if they just got desynced or if Fathlo just started later or something. But Fathlo actually missed the DK barrel.
Missing the thing. Yeah, that's interesting.
He said he's been doing that a lot lately, just because he's been like trying to optimize the extendo there.
Yeah, that's where you want to pick up the barrel as late as possible. It'll let you be in your donkey roll animation for longer, so you'll be moving further to right faster. So it is a little bit of optimization, but as you saw on Fathlo's screen, he did it for too long and missed the barrel, which is not worth the time save that he would have gotten. So like Lumo said earlier, a lot of optimizations are high risk, low reward, and that's a great example right there.
So this is that first bonus that we were talking about. Skip a good portion of the stage just by taking this bonus here, and it shoots you out. 1 out of 2 that are typically seen in the speedrun. The other option.
How did Fathlo get in the lead? I must have missed that.
Just movement, man.
Okay.
I think they also got synced up. The restream was resynced.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So as you can see on Parisian's screen, there are these corners between stages, and that last one there on the bottom is where they do the map warp from. So we didn't really get to point out a whole lot before, but there are some good tech in these crawl spaces. You can see Fathlo jumps in and then zips out the other side by pressing the roll button, and then Parisian also doing that sort of jump tech through. Saves a lot of time as opposed to just trying to go through in your crawling animation where your Kong literally slows down to a crawl. It's quite slow, so you want to jump through or zip through if you can.
Yeah. The only scary thing about zips is that when you press Y to zip, the game just looks at your positioning. If you're over halfway through the crawl space, it'll take you to the right edge of the crawl space. But if you're under halfway through, it'll take you back to the left side. In what is that, Reptile Rumble, that zip in particular is pretty easy to get over the halfway point with a roll crouch jump. But the one in Torchlight Trouble, which we'll see later on, is much more difficult. So while it's not a risk in the previous level, it is a risk in some crawl spaces. So it is important to keep that in mind.
Yeah, just think about it as whichever side you're closer to is the one you get shot out of. So here we are back in 1.5. So this is where we were talking about those animal buddy tokens. You see Fathlo is going to connect a Rhino one here soon. And if you run just enough runs in a row, you'll end up getting more than 1 and 2. And then once you get 3, you end up getting a bonus game where you collect a whole bunch of little tokens to get more lives, but that's not exactly advantageous in a speedrun setting. So you want to reset your console, reset those animal buddy tokens.
So let's make sure Parisian gets this tree jump. Okay, he did. So that's good. I'm actually very proud of Parisian because last race he lost quite a bit of time. He actually jumped on the Kremlin too early, and so you want to jump on the Kremlin when it's at its highest peak, so that you can actually reach the treetop to the auto barrel to get to the end of the level. Otherwise, you have to take the developer intended route of barrels, and it can be decently fast, but it is even when done well still slower than the auto barrels. So good to see him actually get that this time.
Looks like Parisian is about 12 seconds behind. Fathlo with a 344, Parisian with a 356. That's really nothing when considering this game as a whole, but in percentages, with relation to how much of the game that they've actually played so far, that is quite a large gap. But it is anybody's game, it is anybody's frame, so he could come back from anything. Fathlo could have an infinite on whichever stage, and Parisian could have the run of his life. So who knows? Don't count anybody out yet.
Did Parisian? I'm assuming Parisian's not going to go for the. Oh, he does go for the. I'm sorry. I mean, he did bonk on the wall, but he did roll through the barrel.
I think that's still faster, even with that bonk.
Yeah. So what you'll see, and the reason we're talking about is that the vast majority of players, I would say, opt to go for the easy strat of just picking up the barrel in Minecart Carnage, throwing it away, and then jumping over the auto barrel to land in the developer warp. However, what you saw on Parisian's screen was that he was able to press Y before the barrel, release Y before the barrel, and thus have a roll going through the barrel without picking it up. And when done super cleanly, it's very gratifying. Just
the only reason that's an issue is because X is an unused button in this game. So run and roll and pick up items and all that stuff, and all your animal buddy interactions are on Y. And X is unused, so if you're trying to run, if you're trying to roll, if you're trying to pick up a barrel, you do all that with Y, so you can't just hold Y and run over a barrel because you will pick it up as you run across it. So that's why you have to tap Y to roll, but not pick up the barrel as you go across.
Did we mention the thing about the rock crocs? I don't know if we did.
No, I did not.
So if you want to go for it on this
one?
Yeah,
so Parisian just took that warp there, and so these rock crocs that are exclusive to this stage, you turn them off with those barrels, but also while they're on, you can't dispatch them, you can't roll through them as you can most enemies, so instead of getting hurt by them, for whatever reason, you just phase straight through.
Now, it was funny while you were talking about that. Fathlo actually died going for the super jump. He got the jump, I think, set up, or maybe he didn't. Maybe because I missed that part where he actually was setting it up. All I saw him run into a crush shot. Maybe he did that on purpose because he failed the super jump setup. So he actually had to go backwards to stop and go to get an extra Kong, because you do need to enter the stage with 2 Kongs to be able to super jump. So that was quite a big time loss, and now that has given Parisian the opportunity to be in the lead. What I would guess by about 10 seconds, maybe.
Yeah, he's actually got about 10 on him. So as we were saying, 12-second lead just swung 10 seconds the other way. So it really is anybody's game, anybody's frame. Actually, it looks closer to 8, but still. So yeah. 20-second time swing right there. And I'm sure Fathlo had made up more time throughout Bouncy Bonanza and other stuff. So 702 Banana for Parisian. And even on the boss fight, he's making up time. 707 for Fathlo. Yeah. Now he's only back 5. So this man is a monster. You can only keep him at bay for so long, but Parisian is definitely putting up a good fight.
Yeah, you always have to, even though some of these bosses are easy, Fathlo proved that there are optimizations that can be made. How early you get your hit on the neckies, when they come out, that is very important to how fast you can beat that boss. And Fathlo proving that he's done the practice to know the proper timings. And so he's able to save an extra few seconds off of Parisian there.
Yeah, he saved, what, 3 in just that boss fight alone? That's quite impressive. And so Fathlo already closing the gap even more just through optimizations in Vulture Culture. And Parisian's actually going to lose the lead here when he ends up getting this Kong barrel back just because of the frames there. And I can only assume that Parisian's going to stick with the super jump, and Fathlo's going to attempt the super jump roll again. Yep, looks like it.
He does get the backup. Okay. A little bit of time loss compared to the optimal SJR, but still way faster than super jumping. Good head on his shoulders right there to think calmly about what he needs to do to salvage. I believe he got the single explosion, and then turn it into an actual SJR. Very, very nice, Fathlo.
It's kind of confusing. You have to duck, crouch down, and then roll off of the edge. And for whatever reason, that keeps your super jump roll state. Well, it keeps your super jump state, and the fact that you roll off means that you end up rising up through your super jump as long as you keep holding B. So it's
and that's
kind of counterintuitive, but for whatever reason, it works.
And that's the important thing to keep in mind, that for the SJR/super jump, you always have to be holding B until you want to start to descend. And so since he was on the ground, he had to be holding B that whole time. And that's why I was talking about keeping your cool, because it's not it's easy to panic and actually release the B button right there, and then you would have lost your super jump state. So
Parisian going for Espresso here. This is typically a beginner strat in Temple Tempest. It loses a good handful of seconds over optimal. I don't think he did this the first time around.
No, he did. He did.
He did? I missed it.
Yeah, we were just talking about other stuff, so we wouldn't get a chance to mention it.
Okay,
I believe the count is like if you have an optimal temple with Diddy versus an optimal temple with the bird, where the bird is much easier to do optimally, it's about a 5-second delta, I think.
Yeah,
so that's the number I tend to remember.
Yeah, there are some more optimizations that aren't factored into that, like Fabi roll, but that not a lot of people go for that.
It's another one of those high risk, low reward.
Fathlo getting first try again. Still within striking distance. I mean, anything can really happen here. Parisian doesn't typically go for too many frame perfect tricks, it seems. He really just goes for. Well, I guess he might go for ODA. We couldn't really tell. I mean, he took the super jump, but he might also try for super jump roll. So we don't have any way to know whether he tried to hit Y or not. But so Parisian does go for Bird Tut. He does go for Platform Perils. So there are chances for him to save huge gaps of time there. And every time that Fathlo is attempting a frame perfect trick, there is a loss if he doesn't hit it, because it does take time to set up the super jump state for all your super jump rolls. The actual jump rolls themselves, as opposed to the super jump rolls, tend to lose a lot less when going for them. In fact, except for the frames that you lose by dispatching the enemies, because every time you kill an enemy, they lag the game for 1 frame. So with the exception of the enemies that you knock away, the time loss going for jump rolls like Tut, both Crim and Bird, and Platform Perils as well, the time loss is really, really negligible because they're just sort of on the route. You don't really lose a whole lot by going for them. But the super jump rolls have quite extensive setups that end up costing double-digit seconds sometimes.
Yeah, the best example I can probably think off the top of my head is RBR. When getting the SJR and RBR is optimal, right? But if you don't go for the SJR at all, you lose about, I think it's like 8 seconds or 9 seconds, something like that, compared to the SJR.
Yeah, I think it's under 10 if you play optimally, and that's doing all the cycle skips and extendos entire rolls.
Yeah,
so
and now
for a newer player, it's much more worth it, but Fathlo does play optimally, so he only saves that bare minimum.
Yeah, as the delta though, if you go for the SJR and RBR and miss it, the amount of time you lose over someone who went for the SJR and got it is like 17 seconds. So that's an extra 8 seconds, 9 seconds of setup, just to try for the frame. So the point of the matter is that the SJRs are not free in terms of cost for attempt.
Yeah, I believe it depends on where you lose the trick, whether or not the army doesn't follow you and you just give up there, or whether or not you go for the frame and you end up being early and you roll to your death. Because I think
it's like an extra 2 seconds or something if you actually got the army to follow. And,
yeah, exactly. Exactly. But I mean, in the grand scheme, that's negligible compared to the actual setup itself, which takes a boatload. Fathlo getting that out of bounds first try, no problem. And
see if he'll spice it up with under the B this time. Nah.
I don't think he typically. I don't think he goes for it even in even his PB attempts. I don't think. Does he?
I actually don't know. I would be surprised if he doesn't in a PB attempt, at least. In a race, I'm not surprised, but in a PB attempt, I would be surprised if he doesn't go for it.
Huh.
This tech that Fathlo's going to do at the very beginning is a relatively new tech, found, I believe, by Nay, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the old way we used to start this stage out, we would hold B without holding Y during the black in. And as soon as we got our jump off, then we would start holding left and Y, correct? I think that's how it went. And that way we would get over the mini Necky's nut that he shoots out at you without taking damage. If you try holding Y plus left plus B all at the beginning, you'll jump right into the nut, which is very, very unfortunate. However, this new method that like I said, I think Nay discovered, you actually do a little roll into the the left side slope, and then you jump after the Necky's nut has passed you by. And
he actually doesn't even shoot the nut. You roll close enough into, then he just does the animation and he makes the sound, but there actually is no nut that.
Oh no, there is. If you jump early, it'll appear and kill you.
Oh, I guess if you jump early, but if you don't jump, is what I'm saying. Like when I do attempts at it, I don't see the nut even.
Yeah. The projectile's invisible until you hit it, essentially. Right. So as long as you don't hit it, it's invisible. And I think it says like 5 frames or something like that over the old way. So pretty cool find.
So Fathlo just cutting his corners as optimally as he can, mashing B. What's different about this game as opposed to the other 2 DKC games underwater, aside from not having a water state, as I mentioned before, you don't have to hold Y when you're swimming to go faster. All you have to do is hold whichever direction you want to go in and press B to swim upwards. There are actually some instances where it is advantageous to hold down and press B. It just sort of makes you swim up a little bit less. And some people use that when you approach a corner where you need to start descending. So it gives you that downwards momentum. It lets you start that downwards momentum so that you can be going down at your maximum speed, as opposed to going around the corner and then having your downwards acceleration start up. You already start going down at your max speed. Just one more of those optimizations that really set the good players apart from the best players. See, like right there, you saw he swam up a little bit first and then started descending.
Now, as the counter example, you can kind of see, now this section doesn't really matter too much, but I've seen Parisian do it a few times, hugging the wall that you need to cut the corner against. So he's losing out on potential corner cutting, essentially, by not hugging the opposite wall.
Right.
Yeah. So
like right there, you see he was hugging the right wall, and then he went right. So then he has to start his acceleration, his rightward acceleration, brand new, as soon as the wall goes away, as soon as he passes the wall, as opposed to hanging out on maybe the left side and then starting his movement to the right and getting his full acceleration, so he's moving at max speed when the wall disappears to cut that corner more efficiently and keep his velocity up.
Yeah, we'll see how Fathlo does. This is, again, one of the first levels where we are going to be in the dark for most of this. I believe the first playthrough, Fathlo actually took damage on that oil can, so very nice that he got through this first half this time with both conks intact. And like I kind of mentioned earlier, he did go for the zip in this stage and got it. So that's very nice. You have to get really far into that crawl space before pressing Y, and he nailed it with no problem. Very, very nice stage from Fathlo.
So I'm sure we're going to see another attempt at the SJR here. Hopefully he has better luck with the army, gets it to cooperate.
Yeah, last time he messed up the jump. The timing for when to jump as Donkey to let the army follow you is actually quite difficult. Actually, probably the hardest part of the trick. And he nailed it this time and then got the frame. Beautiful. We kind of mentioned this earlier. This is, I believe Parisian doesn't even go for this frame, so this is a straight up like 8-9 second time save over what Parisian will be doing if Parisian does it optimally. Yeah,
I think even more, because I don't think Parisian goes for the cycle skips and stuff like that, the platforms.
Yeah.
So I believe he should be saving even more over Parisian. Very, very fun trick to pull off. Very frustrating when it doesn't work, because then you end up having to play a stage which is simultaneously fun but also difficult. So I don't know. I guess it's a mixed bag.
Yeah, that is the case where a lot of the oh, sorry.
Again, showing off that corner tech where he hides out in the upper left-hand corner and then hits Nadia as soon as he's vulnerable.
Yeah, and going back to kind of what you were saying about, it's a bittersweet thing to get the SJRs, because it's awesome because it saves time and reduces the risk in the run. But the downside is that a lot of the SJR stages are actually quite fun to play. RBR, ODA. I'm even
Misty.
growing on Misty. Yeah, all those levels have actually quite fun platforming. But we end up rolling through the air through them. So
speaking of SJRs, Fathlo is doing a super jump roll over ODA. So this is more free time save for him. He is cruising right now. So he actually has hit all of the frames so far. He did have to get the backup in Forest Frenzy, so that's a little bit slower than optimal. Optimal being hitting 4 Kremlings, which would save, I don't know, maybe 5, 7 something over what he ended up having to do. just because he also had to do the crouch and then sort of roll off the side, and ended up only rolling through 2 enemies as opposed to 4, so his top speed wasn't quite there. So he is on a pretty good run right now.
I want to say I did say he was. I said he was going to get a hot 33 at the beginning.
And I think hitting no other frames, he's already on pace to do that. So
for sure, yeah, definitely. Yeah. He's probably still on 32 pace. I don't remember him dying or making any big mistakes.
I don't think he has just yet. So
he opts out of snake bounce. In the first race, and that I think can tell the kind of little bit of nerves right now because he knows he's on a good pace. The first race he went for snake bounce because he knew there's like nothing to lose. This one he opts to take it safe, and because that if you don't jump at the right time, you'll jump too early, and then the snake, you'll land on the ground, and the snake will hit you in the face, and you'll die.
So what you need to do is jump into a crawl space and bounce on a snake. It can be kind of difficult to time. And you are solo Diddy generally. He was, in fact, because he hit the ODA SJR, so it's pretty spooky. You end up losing, I don't know, 15 or something if you die. So
it's got to be more than 15, I would think.
Oh yeah, you think?
I think so. I would guess more like 20.
Okay. I don't know if Parisian intentionally didn't go for the super jump there because he did have both Kongs going in. I didn't actually see because I was watching Fathlo's screen, but it looks like he's going to be playing out ODA the long way with solo Diddy right now, but it's going to be a Kong barrel here. He's probably going to pick it up. All right, so now he's a little bit more safe, but I don't know what went awry with his super jump. I did see him set it up, though. He might have actually gone for the super jump roll and just been early.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. The other thing is to think about that maybe he knew that Fathlo was doing good things and decided that the super jump safe strat wasn't worth it since he knew he was on his tournament life. Well, not necessarily because it's double elimination, but you know he was on the
end of winner's bracket for him. Yeah.
Yeah. So he at that point you might as well go for the hard stuff to try to save as much time as you can because you know Fathlo the Beast is on your butt.
Well, out in front actually, but yeah, definitely leading you by a good margin. So he's going to set up that rolling through air here again, and probably going to go for a jump roll off of one of these birds coming up. He usually actually ends up going back, and I believe you can take 3 attempts at it before it ends up losing time. Yep, there you go.
Wow.
So, yeah.
This one doesn't save that much time. I believe it saves about 4 seconds, something like that. But it's got to feel nice.
Yeah, it also depends partly on how many birds you end up rolling through, because you can make back some time by rolling through birds, because that makes you go a little bit faster than just your regular roll speed. Meanwhile, Parisian super jumping over elevator antics. I actually learned quite recently that this doesn't lose that much time over playing out the stage if you end up setting up the super jump for the super jump roll and miss it. It's actually beneficial to just play out the stage as a super jump rather than rolling and jumping and doing the bonus skip and all that stuff because of the time that you invested in the setup.
Like actually super jumping over the whole level?
Yeah.
I'm surprised.
If you invest the time to set it up to go for the super jump roll, if you are early, you're kind of boned because then you have to play out the stage. But if you're late and you just get the super jump, it's faster to take the super jump than having set up the trick and play it out.
So like when I do the snake, I end up and I get the jump or the super jump. I end up going into the bonus with the super jump and then playing the rest of the level out.
Okay, I don't know anything about that kind of timing. I don't know. But that might be faster. I do not know. Looks like Parisian has lost Diddy and he's lost his fish. And he almost lost Donkey right there.
This is what we call disaster. I mean, there's a saying in the donkey community: if you're donkey, you're dead. And that's especially true in this level. There's a lot of fishies that get in your way, and donkey is quite huge. So.
Oh, don't do that! Don't do it!
Oh my god! I'm surprised that worked. Mind blown! What a strat god, Parisian! What a strat god.
Wow, that is a very tight space to make through without hitting that shark. So good on him making it, and good on him knowing that that backup on guard is there. So he's good to finish out the stage on his fish. Who donated for Donkey on guard?
Fun fact about Animal Buddies. I don't think we mentioned this in the first race. That I know Espresso works this way, that if you're on Espresso as Donkey, it's slower than if you're on if you're Diddy on Espresso.
Yeah, the Animal Buddies' speeds correlate to which Kong is riding them. So Winky, Rambi, and Espresso are all slower if you have Donkey out in front. However, On Guard is the same speed because both the Kongs have the same swim speed.
Yes, that's what I was getting at. Awesome. fun little fact.
Yeah. So it's not only interesting to watch, but also doesn't lose any time if you are Donkey on Guard.
And actually, in 101%, we kind of updated the routing to include Donkey on Guard and pretty much almost every water level, because it ends up being faster.
Yeah, it's also in RBO. All right, so Fathlo, I didn't see his exit time, but it had to be like 24:30 or something. So he is on a mighty fine run right now. Got through Blackout Basement, no problem. So we're going to see him attempt Creme Tut here. See if we can have an insane run.
Setup was good.
Hit the frame!
Dude, I was gonna say when he was doing that sound, I was like, that looks real good. That was a positioning, landing back on the tracker. Unfortunate. Oh, and he.
Oh no! So he hit the frame for Creme Tut. However, since you are wedged between a catwalk and the tracker, you need to wiggle back and forth in order for the tracker to go up enough that you can go past it. Because if you go to the left, you'll land on the catwalk. If you go to the right, you'll land on the tracker. So you need to wiggle back and forth, left, right, left, or right, left, right. Sorry, in order to let the tracker go up so that you don't land back on it. He ended up failing the wiggle there, which I find to be the most difficult part of the trick, honestly. But that's not it there either. That's not the end of the trick. Unfortunate death for Parisian there.
Yeah, Parisian. I just saw him fall into the gap. I didn't know how it's set up that way, but that's very unfortunate.
Yeah, unfortunate. But he got halfway, so he is not too much of a loss there.
Yeah, it wasn't that far away from halfway. I'm pretty sure that was the one that was.
It was just before the DK barrel, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was like two ropes away.
Yeah. Now it seems like he's having a little bit of an infinite. So the thing about grabbing halfway in Blackout Basement, if you don't practice playing the game when coming in through halfway, all your light cycles are going to be off from what they normally are when you come in the stage normally. So right now, if he hasn't practiced playing the stage coming out of halfway, he's basically in the dark here, like we were saying, being off light cycle. You're basically blind. You don't have any of your muscle memory to work off of, and I mean there are some places where you can roll for a certain amount of time and then jump, but you still don't have the same visual cues. So
the other thing, he was going for a pretty hard extendo to cross that gap. Like that gap looks trivial, just like roll jump across it, but actually you have to do, at least with the way I do it, there's like an extendo with some very specific timing to actually cross that safely. And he went for it a few times, and you can see that if you fail it, you die. So it's definitely a tough strat.
Yeah, definitely not forgiving. Another high risk, low reward. So that's what this game's all about. Fathlo cleanly through Mincers.
We'll see if he cleans up his Misty, because remember last time he went for the super jump setup to get the state and missed taking damage. But this time he does take damage, so he has the super jump state sword. He's going to take damage on purpose to get Diddy back in front, and was early on the frame, so he got a roll instead of a jump roll. Unfortunate. So he's going to play it out. I expect to see him grab the extra DK barrel again and go for Loopy, since that's what he did last time. We'll see.
I mean, there's literally no reason not to for him in this current state. So, other than the theoretical time loss from missing Loopy, but there is also that save that he could have if he gets it. So there he is, grabbing his DK. I'm not sure if it's faster to grab DK here or at the beginning of Loopy, because because here you break the barrel by going across it as opposed to having to throw it, but you have two Kongs here and you get a little bit of lag in the B section, and you also lose 10 frames by having two Kongs on the overworld map. So
and
not the B section, but the naughties and stuff. But yeah,
10 frames twice over. Every movement that you do on the overworld. So there's one to Funky and then one to Loopy, right? So that'd be 20 total.
Yes. So that's a third of a second, just from having 2 Kongs. And I don't know how much
The
lag
frames,
he ends up having in Misty by having 2 Kongs. But either way, he's got his donkey for Loopy here. And setting up. It looks like he... I don't know if he's changed his setup. I'll have to talk about this afterward.
Oh!
Ah! Okay. So he ended up jumping into the Kremling's feet, which... He and I sort of discussed this before. There's not a whole lot of people that go for this trick, not a whole lot of people that know it, and definitely not a lot of people think it's worth it. But I've sort of been trying to learn this trick, and I think he's the first one that really made it RTA viable. I'm gonna have to say, I'm sure it was a Tasser that found it or something, but he's the first one that started doing it in runs. It actually is in the any percent world record that he currently holds. So he jumped up into the Kremling's feet, and I was under the impression that that changes Diddy's hitbox, and you end up having a more difficult setup for actually hitting the frame, because you usually end up bouncing on top of the Kremling as you're going over top of him when you take damage with Donkey. Kind of hard to describe if you can't see it, but he ended up going for Platform Perils jump roll and was early on that. So he rolled through.
Oh, Lord.
Oh, well, he's going to get a second attempt now.
Hey, he got second try on Force Frenzy the first race, so I expect to see him nail it this time on
exactly.
barrels. Is it just me or is he PowerPointing?
He says what a joke, so I'm assuming he hit it.
I'm having trouble watching Fathlo's streaming.
A little bit of a slideshow, but I think that's just his network. He's been having some issues lately, but sure enough, he is a peanut in space right now. So this is the end of the platforming stages for him, and looks like the end of Parisian in the winners bracket.
I don't know if we mentioned it earlier, because I know there was no Bird's Hut this go around. I actually don't know what Parisian did, but I know Fathlo didn't get it, and we didn't talk about it last time. But when you're flying through air with the jump roll like he is right now, Fathlo, you're actually losing, I don't know how many seconds it takes to drop, how many pixels, but slowly but surely you are actually descending. And in this level it doesn't matter, but in Bird's Hut there's a spot where you purposefully delay because that extra 5 seconds of delay gets you low enough to just skim under some bees without taking damage. It's a fun fact.
Yeah, I believe he got Bird's Hut last run though, but we didn't mention it. I think we were so hyped that he got it.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. Looks like a 34-40-ish for Fathlo.
So very consistent, if that's the case.
34-38, I think, yeah.
It should be
I'm sure he's going to prove me wrong and do K-Rool faster than I calculated, but it should be the rough time there, assuming nothing catastrophic.
Yeah, I think my gold's like a 223 starting from banana drop.
Yeah, that's usually the donkey route gold that most people go for if you get crownless hits. Crownless hits, to explain, so K-Rool throws his crown at you. When he throws his crown, he becomes vulnerable. If you hit him on the first frame that he's vulnerable, he's at the very end of his animation of extending his arm to throw his crown, but you don't actually see the crown yet. So what we like to call those is crownless, just because you don't see the crown. And again, using those sweet pixels that he can just stand on between the cannonballs, the setup actually changes between the second versus the first and third cycles, because the cannonballs change position. They fall in different positions depending on which side K-Rool is on. Looks like our hero Fabio is going to close this one out. No problem. 2-0. 234s back-to-back. Very good runs.
Yep.
And he died in perils in both runs, right? Yeah?
He did die in perils both times.
So
twice the first time, once the second time.
Looks like he knows what he needs to practice.
Yeah, loopy SJR, obviously. That's
yeah, clearly. I mean, duh. Yeah, like...
like, this would have been so much better if you could have gotten that jump roll. Or that
I
SJR.
agree.
He actually got quite a few frames this time. He got a decent Forest, he got RBR, he got ODA, he got MCM, but he did not get the Bird, and he did not get Misty.
Yeah, he got the first 4, and then he hit Krem, and that's when the wheels fell off.
Yeah.
Unfortunate. That was like he just ran out of gas.
Dude, I think it's the exact same time. 3-4-4-4. That looks very, very familiar to me.
It sure does. GG to Fathlo.
Epitome of consistency. Very, very nice.
Another well done run. He is going to advance in the bracket,
run, my friend.
And his next opponent is the Mike Canis.
That's going to be a spicy match.
Yeah, just coming off of matchup with Mozzarella Cheese. Canis and Fathlo are no strangers to running against each other. In the DKC community, we have a little thing that we like to call DGen Hour, or Degeneracy Hour, usually just abbreviated to DGen. Basically, we just race the game a lot. Play all stages. Used to be like an everyday thing, but it seems to have died out as some people have gotten knocked out of the tournament, losing a little bit of interest, but that's kind of to be expected. But both Fathlo and Canis are, we'll call them regulars. They both race a lot, so they are both very familiar with each other's race styles. And they do like to swap blows on who wins. And it's definitely going to be an interesting one. Definitely going to be a good set. I fully expect it to go to 3 matches, 3 rounds, 3 races. Not quite sure who I would pick to win, because Canis did actually beat Fathlo in the group stages. So there is always that chance that Canis is going to beat him again, but Fathlo does usually post lower times. So, you know, anything can happen. Anybody's game, anybody's frame. But either way, I'm going to be watching.
Oh, for sure. And like while these 34s are good, they are like, I don't want to make it sound like these are bad times. When you're having to race against Canis, a man of that caliber, you're not safe with a high 34. Maybe with a low 34, you can start feeling okay about yourself. But like me personally, I would want to be getting 33s to make sure I can beat Canis, because otherwise you're really leaving it up to the donkey RNG gods at that point, because that would definitely be anyone's game. That could be like a few second delta between the 2 runners.
Canis is no foreigner to the 33 either, with having posted a few of them himself. So,
agreed for sure.
Yeah. Looks like Parisian using his blind run tech. If I had to guess, he's probably doing his blindfolded right now, actually. So he actually does blindfolded runs of a lot of games. Specifically, he did a blindfolded run of this game maybe less than a week ago. I'm not sure what day, but you see he's doing some very intricate setups here with these rolls and crouches. That is tech to make sure that he ends up exactly where he means to be, and it puts him between the cannonballs here as they end up falling. So nice little tech to show off right there. I'm not sure if he did it the first time around. He probably did. I just didn't notice. He might have actually just been donkey last time. I don't remember. But either way,
definitely donkey last time because he took damage on the bird, and that's why we were talking about. Fathlo went for UK rule, and Parisian got to do donkey.
Yep. Yeah, so he probably didn't practice donkey in front K rule while blindfolded, just to, rather learn one thing than have to do 2. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it looks like he's still implementing his blindfold strats here. Very interesting to watch. Can't say for sure whether or not he actually is blindfolded right now, but Actually, that right there, I'm sure that was not blindfolded, but the cannonballs definitely were. Either way, cool to see.
His prowess.
I don't know.
Come on!
That seems very, very inconsistent to just sort of run like that and get by.
He's listening to the beats, man. He's listening to those hot K. Rool beats.
He might be. He might be.
Yo, GG to Parisian and to Fathlo, obviously. Both well done runs by these players. Even though Parisian had some issues, you have to look back at that race and think there were some actually quite high spots. I know we were talking about Loopy, for instance. He was going for some pretty decent tech in that first race. I don't remember how he played it this one, but like there's definitely some shining moments for both runners for sure.
And so that solidifies Parisian into the first round of bracket against Mozzarella Cheese. So it's kind of funny they're tagging out these two bracket setups: Mike Canis versus Mozzarella Cheese and Fathlo versus Parisian player. Now the winners of those are going to play on the winners of each other, and the losers of those are going to play on the losers of each other. So they can swap and compare notes and see what they have to look forward to in their future opponents.
That's going to be, I know we were talking about the Canis versus Fathlo match. It's definitely going to be hype. But I have a feeling the Cheese Parisian is not going to be a slouch either.
I'm sure it's going to be close. They have very similar times.
I was just about to mention, I think both have 36s now. Or did Cheese actually...
Cheese has improved. Cheese has a 35 now, yeah.
Okay. I know Cheese has been improving quite rapidly as of late, so, you know, shout-outs to him.
Yeah,
but
he's been on DJing with us and improving all along the way.
Yeah.
Mozzarella Cheese now has a 35-38 as of a little over a week ago.
Very, very nice. So, yeah. Definitely going to be a slight favorite there, but again, you can never count anyone out in this game, so it should be a good watch.
I think it's almost more interesting to watch sort of like mid-tier players as opposed to higher-tier players, just because it's a little bit less predictable. You know, like you can sort of depend on the high-tier players to play out all the platforming stages either, you know, mostly well or perfectly or whatever, whereas like somebody who maybe hasn't been playing this game for 3 years or however long, or maybe is a little bit less practiced, you don't know for certain that they're going to make it through ODA okay, or they're going to make it through, you know, the end of platform perils, which is the last platforming stage, and your nerves are always really, really high. And it's also very, very difficult. Like it's not a stage you can sleep on by any means. So I almost feel like it's more fun to watch those 36 caliber players just because of the unpredictability. For sure. And you kind of touched on it, like some of the normal hard levels like ODA and perils, which the high tier level players mostly complete fine, but can occasionally fail. Like those 36 players are going to have a lot more issues there. But then that also opens up for other levels too. Like suddenly Ice Age can become very, very risky when you're in that kind of 35, 36 range. You know, there's a lot more levels that become like toss-ups, and so there can be a lot of lead changes. So yeah, I expect that one to be a very, very good one. Waiting on the runners to get their invites to the commentary, the restream Discord, so we can get them up in this call here. Looks like they're both interested in sharing their thoughts for interviews, but they haven't gotten invites yet, so just gonna hang around for a little bit before they get in here.
While I have time, let's talk about your match, Lumo, since you also are in this tourney. How are you feeling about the Peachy race?
I think I feel just as everyone else, myself included, predicted the outcome of this race to go. He is 100% favored in this race by everyone who voted, and also he is picked as the winner for each and every single one of the brackets that people have submitted in terms of like who they think is going to win and all the turnouts and everything. So if I were to win, it would be a complete upset and nobody would be expecting that, and I believe that would break just about everybody's brackets. But I'm interested to see what happens, because I know he's not rusty. He's been playing, but he's also been playing a lot of DKC2. He's also been playing a lot of NMS. So very good player, been playing forever. Like, I don't know if this guy is ever really rusty in the game, just because he's done so much of it, you know. Like, at that point, I think the muscle memory is just like so ingrained, like you can't not be ready at any time.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
I think it's gonna be good. I feel like you've really the last few months have gotten so very very good at this game, and the PBs have definitely proven that the practice that you put in, because there's been, if you people watching aren't aware, Lumo is known, at least in my opinion, is known now for streaming like hours of practice and then doing runs, and it's really nice to see that those PBs are starting to flow through.
There's our first runner. What's up, Fathlo?
Hello and welcome.
Yeah, I think he's trying to figure out his mic or something.
Yeah. Technical difficulties.
Yeah, we'll give him a minute to.
No, I'm here.
Oh, there you are. What's up?
I had the stream going, and then when I joined at the same time, I heard double voices, so I was like,
Oh, you got voices in your head, yeah? Nice.
GG, Fathlo.
Thank you.
Very nice runs. Back-to-back 34s. How do you feel about that?
Not well, honestly.
Yeah, I feel like the first one, I think the 34 is kind of okay, like not too bad. But the second one, I can understand why you'd be upset, since you did hit the first 4 frames. Kind of was expecting the 33 probably out of that one.
The first
I was on 32 pace going into World 6. So
yeah. You hit the first 5 frames, right? It just you didn't get the wiggle on Kremtut.
Yeah.
So
it's a tough one.
Yeah.
And I had 2 silly deaths, one at the start and another after missing the frame in perils on that last run.
Take us through your mindset on the Forest Frenzy save, man. That's a tough one to work through. I'm very impressed that you were able to.
I'm just glad I got it. I hit it and I was like, oh shit, this is a single explosion.
Yeah, you just like know right away. You're like, all right, well, here we go.
But yeah, lots of frames on these 2 runs, just flop in other places mostly.
Yeah, you got second try Forest in the first run, and you got it first try, but the backup in the second run. So your consistency there is obviously bar none, and you didn't get the army to follow you in your first run on RBR, so that was a bit unfortunate. So you just played it out there, which was perfect as always, and then. You got it your second time around, which is always fun to see, and then we finally got to showcase that to everybody who was watching. And then ODA is beautiful as always.
Single explosion the first time, though.
Yeah.
So you kind of went back to the left.
Yeah.
You went back to the left. I was like, is he gonna try to?
I kind of went back to the left, and I was like, oh no.
I thought you were gonna salvage it. I was like, man, he's gonna pull it off in this race. It's gonna be
that would be insane.
Incredible.
No, that's like a 2-pixel window or something.
Yeah,
you got very little room to do that.
You have for the audience out there, you have about 2 pixels on the edge of those dumb drums, the oil drums with the fire in them, to stand on the edge of the drum without getting hit by the fire. You need to do that and then roll back off the opposite side, and then just like that save that he did in Forest Frenzy, you sort of roll off in your super jump roll state and then end up rolling through. Usually just one, but I believe you can connect to another baddie to get a little bit faster back up there.
Yeah.
The first critter's pretty free, but you have to do a kind of tight extendo to hit the beaver at the end.
Yeah, it's really hard.
Yeah.
Almost not even possible.
Yeah. What happened in MCM the first time around? You just rolled a little bit too early and you ended up hitting the bird?
In MCM, I hit the frame, but jumped out of it.
Oh, you jumped out. I see. Yeah, because I remember
like I hit it and then I accidentally hit B. Like it wasn't like me jumping out of it. Like I hit Y and tapped B like 2 frames later or whatever.
Oh, I see. Because I remember it looked like you hit the bird and then you jumped out. And so I wondered if you just like rolled too far and ended up rolling through the bird, and then you just said, you know, screw it, whatever, I'll go on, like do the regular rolling through air, or if you actually did end up jumping out on accident. So either way, great performance, and Bird Tut as well. Also a cool thing to show off to all the watchers out there. Very impressive, and you had a little bit of sticking point in perils in both of your runs.
Yeah, the first one was a little awkward. Like I messed up and then tried to save myself, and I got like this limp roll and just had no chance.
Yeah.
And then I went back in, and I lost Diddy, and I was like, I'm not doing the rest of this level with Diddy, so I just killed myself.
Yeah, we were like, we were thinking, we're like, man, he just took Donkey and spiked it. Like he did not want to be Donkey.
It would probably be faster to do it as Donkey, but I was like, no thanks.
Yeah, I mean, why bother? Like, you don't have to put yourself through that. You didn't need the time gap there. So, either way, very, very good race. So, Parisian, you're in here. Is your mic working? What's up, man?
Well, that's over. So,
I thought you played pretty well that second game. Like, the first game, I think, had a little bit more early mid-game issues, but I felt like every time I looked at you were doing pretty well. I don't know how it tapered off so much near the end, but
yeah, as I said in chat, after my death in ODA, I was like, yeah, whatever, this is not going anywhere anyway. So I kind of lost track, and then like I got hit in Poison Pond and was chasing for my fish, and so
we were scared for you there, man.
And then I died 3 times in Bob because I was like, what the hell?
Yeah.
I was going for an extendo I never go for, and I was, okay, let's...
Yeah. Blackout Basement, when you're off your light cycle, is definitely one of the harder things to do in the game.
Yeah, and we definitely mentioned that we saw you going for that extendo. It's like, man, that is not an easy extendo, so props to you for at least going for it to try it.
And then I died in the most stupid way, and... in Tank Camp Trouble, messing up a tank.
Oh yeah, it's always so punishing too, because like that's one of the things that's supposed to be like completely free, and then when you mess up there, it's just like, you know, like why would I do that?
I feel like we've all done that though. Like,
yeah,
you're not alone in that.
You haven't run this game enough if you haven't died on Tanked Up Trouble.
Yeah, so the thing is, also in that tournament, when I joined the tournament, it was like, okay, that's a great occasion for me to get rid of that old bad PB. And so my objective was to get a PB and to get a 36 within the tournament. And so after the group phase, I didn't have it yet, so I continued playing a bit. And then I got the 36. So I was like,
mission accomplished.
Yeah, I was like game over. Like, I knew quickly that I was going to play probably against Fathlo or very strong player in brackets, and was like, yeah, I have no chance for first round in brackets anyway. So plus I decided to focus on the blindfolded runs, so I didn't spend time at all for practicing. I think I practiced 1 hour today, and that was my only practice in 2 weeks on the game.
And so we noticed, particularly in K. Rool, I believe you were doing some blindfolded strats there.
Yeah, I knew it was over, so I just wanted to showcase the setup to avoid the cannonballs blindfolded.
Yeah, that's very cool, man. How the rolling just like works out to be in like the perfect spot between the cannonballs. Very awesome.
That's a strat from Rainbow Sprinkle. That's the first guy who went for K. Rool blindfolded, and he came up with that normalized setup here.
Very cool.
How much of that fight did you actually do with blindfolded techniques, or was it just the cannonball phase?
For the fight, I just at some point also went for... I used a lot of the audio cues on that fight, blindfolded, so after the cannonballs, I know that I count the number of cannonballs that fell, I roll once, and then when the crown is thrown, I jump over it with what I call a long, a full jump.
Okay.
And
Cool.
so I did it once only. I think after the first sets of the first set of cannonballs, I did that, and then the other ones I just tried to hit normally. We're trying to reach Carol at a decent spot.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's definitely really cool to see that different tech, you know, blindfolded as opposed to what people would do in like a regular speedrun and whatnot. So it's always refreshing to see different ways to play the game and new things to challenge yourself. I highly recommend anybody out there who says that this is, you know, oh, this is my favorite game or whatever, and I love this. I recommend you pick it up, play it, download it, play it on an emulator or whatever. Just throw your hat in the ring. It's really not that hard to start out, and there are plenty of resources available all through our Discord, our wiki, and even just popping in streamers chats and asking questions and whatnot. There are plenty of resources out there for anybody who wants to start out playing this game, and I highly recommend, if you're even thinking about it, to go ahead and do it.
Yeah, especially on DKC 1. I think among all the games I speedrun, I think DKC 1 is the easiest to start with. Like, you can start runs very quickly.
Yeah, it's definitely
Then you have
intuitive
time.
to pick up in a lot of places. There are some harder things on the top end, but to start out, there's definitely a lot of beginner strats to be used for sure. So very welcoming to new people, and there are plenty of assets for you.
Yeah, next round is versus Mozza for me.
Yeah, you against Mozzarella Cheese, and you guys have pretty close personal best time. So we were just talking before you guys get in here. I think that's going to be really, really interesting set of matches between you two guys, and I am looking forward to that.
Yeah. Also, when I played him in the group phase, we also had some close PBs. I had slightly better PB, but he was quite inconsistent. So that's why I knew I had a big chance. But since he improved his strats and he got a lot more consistent, and that's how he got. I think he has a 35 now.
Yes.
A high 35.
Yep.
So that's
35-38.
I'd put a coin on him, and in the predictions, I said he would go through because now he became a much better player than he was a month ago.
He's definitely improved, but I still say that anything can happen in any of these matches, and definitely shouldn't count anybody out. Just my personal opinion, my 2 cents.
All right.
It looks like that's
thanks.
just about going to do it for us.
Thanks
Thank
for
you to
the
Speed Gaming, as always, for
tournament.
hosting us. Thank you both, Fathlo and Parisian, for the great races. It was a lot of fun to watch and commentate. Thank you for Twitch chat, hanging out with us and watching, and hope to see you guys the next time we have a new set of these races coming up. If you want to, if you look in the chat, there is a link to the challenge page and the schedule. You can check out all the upcoming matches that are going on the schedule. You can see what possible matches might line up in the challenge page. And any of you have any other closing thoughts?
Just GG to Fathlo, and thanks for commentating.
Yeah, GG as well. Good luck on the tournament to everyone else.
Yeah, good luck, guys.
Well, region.
And
It's
thank
almost
you, Limo,
tournament.
for the co-cast.
Absolutely, Stu. Thanks for hanging out with me.
That was fun.
All right, rolling out.
Rolling out. See you guys.
Peace.